What sexual thing have you done that your friends and family would never believe of you? I was really upset after a messy breakup, so I decided to order an escort from Backpage, but when she got to my house she looked really dirty. I mean, in the sense she had been sleeping outside and pretty much living off the streets. I decided to run her a bath and ended up washing her. She started trying to give me a hand job, but I just couldn't get over how messed up she looked. I could tell she was on some type of drug, which she later admitted she was a heroin junkie. After the bath I ended up giving her a massage and she fell asleep for about 7 hours. I made her dinner and we talked about her getting her life back together. I dropped her off outside of a local treatment facility and never saw her again. I hope she got help. I held 2 Roman candle fireworks in each hand and shot them off while banging this chick doggy style on the hood of my car that was parked on my driveway. Probably the best Tinder match ever. Ducked a lady in her late 40s who was once an extra in DR Quinn medicine woman while my girlfriend sat on her face. I got a blowjob before my first kiss. Dated my teacher's daughter. Her dad didn't know we were dating. We were closeted, so whenever I'd get frustrated with him in class, terrible teacher, I'd go to his house after school and duck his daughter. I'm a chick. I am a woman. When I was a teenager I was good friends with the preacher's daughter at the church my family attended. We were tasked with cleaning the church on Saturdays, vacuuming and polishing the pews and whatnot. We got paid $15 each. We used this time to take shots of liquor from the communion glasses and then have lesbian sex on the altar. Took LSD and screwed my ex doggy style in a lifeguard tower. Lightning storm in the distance. Pretty damn grand. It's all been downhill from there. I had a short-term relationship with twin sisters who strictly only wanted to sleep with me at the same time. Best 3 months of Miss X life, no topping it so far. Gotten a rim job. It's a running joke in my friend group, mostly as a shock joke. I'd always been curious, and it wasn't until I was seeing this girl somewhat regularly that I thought it might be fun to try. We were really drunk and she was blowing me. Then I asked her to lick my ass. She attacked my balloon knot, and I found out that it feels awesome. I've never experienced such bliss as having my D yanked and ass tongued at the same time. As for her, she always hated giving blowjobs because they hurt her mouth, but she loves giving rim jobs. Lived as a 24/7 BDSM slave for about 8 months. I used to work at a bar, and one night my boss invited me out drinking at another bar. He got quite drunk and yelled at these 3 girls across the bar and they somehow talked to us. We got back to one of the girls' studio apartment and we all talked for a while. 2 of the girls decided to go home around 3 AM and my buddy passed out on the couch. I apologized as she was wrestling around in her drawer. She took a line of coke and offered me some. I was 19 and was pretty naive, so I said no. She then jumped me and started to take off my clothes. After we started to have sex, she asked if we should continue with my boss able to wake up at any time. I told her he was either too drunk or he would understand. We had sex all night. Sugar is a hell of a drug. At one point, I looked over at my boss while I was giving it to her from behind. He was awake and winked at me while giving me a thumbs up. That is a story I won't tell my friends or family. TL. Doctor went drinking with my boss and ducked a girl while he watched. Had a threesome with 2 other girls at a slumber party. It was fun, but I found out that night that I was completely straight. I've eaten out butthole, gotten my butthole fingered by my ex, and gotten peed on. My mom still thinks I'm a virgin. When I was 15 I would sneak out of my house at 1 in the morning every weekend and meet this girl in the park, and we'd usually be up out there hooking up until like 3 or 4. Kept it up for about 8 months. Still don't know if my parents ever caught on. Cosplay. My mom is a liberal hippie type, but when I told her I was into cosplay, she refused to believe me. Don't even joke about that. What that man did was awful. Then it dawned on me. Mom thought cosplay meant drugging women like Cosby. Nope. The only Mickeys involved in my cosplay are mouse ears. My friends seem to collectively believe that I'm prudish and vanilla. Probably due to the fact that I didn't lose my virginity till I was 23. Last one among us. Little do they realize that it's not abnormal for sex with my BF to involve me collared and cuffed while he ducks my ass. Gotten tied up to all four corners of the bed and beaten with a flog while blindfolded. Then gotten ducked in the ass. And gotten so wet while doing it that I soaked through the pillow under my hips. I ate out a woman in the bathroom stall of a nightclub on my first person I hooked up with after my ex of 4.5 years. We got caught because she was moaning so loud. We get escorted outside. So, because I'm a lady, I make sure she gets in a cab first. Go. I don't really want your number. To which she responds, that's fine. I have a boyfriend. Car door slams shut and she drives away. Don't even know her name. Well, I'm a sex therapist. So if anything, they probably think I've done a lot more than I really have. Me and 4 girls playing spin the bottle and then some. Had sex with 2 of the girls. Best night of my sexual life. Had sex with a guy I met online within an hour of meeting him in person. I'm very quiet and everyone thinks I'm an uptight prude. Masturbated at inappropriate times in inappropriate locations, work, church, etc. This would be a lot more interesting if any of my sex stories involved more people than just myself. Probably that I hooked up with a guy I met off Tinder on the first date and pegged him because he was super into it. We met for sex a few times after that. I'm pretty sure my family thinks I've never had sex or even date. Jerked off next to a duck in a park at 4 AM using a fake VI created using plastic bags, towels and rubber bands. The most relevant answer I have is, ducked my dealer in the bathroom of an Italian restaurant. She was bringing me my weekly supply, while my family was eating a few feet away. Made it back in time for chocolate mousse. At a party in high school, the cops came and I got pulled into a room by a girl. She said she had always had a small crush on me and so things slowly started escalating. We started making out when a friend that was staying the night at her house came in the room looking for her. She jokingly asked what we were doing. And when I said just making out, she called us lame. He said, I've even done more with than that. I didn't believe it and kind of dared them to prove it. They started making out a little. And I was quick to remind them that they were doing the exact same thing as we were just doing. Horny 16-year-old me didn't hesitate to call them out. Things kept going. And after a little bit one of them was going down on the other one. I ended up having sex with a girl from behind while she ate out the other girl. This was summoned straight out of a porno. The best part about the story was that my friend called me, who was my ride, and said they had left, but he will come back and pick me up. We had this whole conversation while I was inside this girl. I said I had to go and the girl that was getting ate out sucked me off and I came in her mouth and dipped. I told my friends when I got in the car and none of them believed me. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago, 6 years later, and my friend that was on the phone with me found out it was all true because he ended up hooking up with the girl that gave me head when he saw her at a bar. It felt so good to tell them all I told you so. I dated the German exchange student. I ducked her, and I also fisted her. We were 15. Edit. RIP my inbox. Ducked my boss GF. That MILF wanted me bad. I was like crack to her. Had sex with someone who was 20 years older than me and 20 years later had sex with someone who was 20 years younger. Ducked someone that did porn. Eaten ass. One thing I couldn't believe at the time, I had an all natural, organic product using girlfriend who was pretty much a hippie. The best smelling and best tasting girl I've ever been with. Even messed around after a long bike ride or long jogs and she was somehow totally clean and fresh. Every PRT of her. Bro, my responses are so vanilla compared to the rest of these answers so far. I'm a straight woman. For reference. 1. I've kissed a girl. Outwardly I'm probably the most conservative sexually of all my friends. Although I'm not a prude. I just don't talk about my sex life. I think everyone would be surprised by this one if they knew it, and it's the most mild. 2. I've received anal sex. Those are the only 2 I think they'd be surprised by. Again, pretty vanilla in comparison to other answers. My boyfriend ducked me from behind while he was standing outside our car. Me bent over the passenger seat with my formal dress pulled up. Cars were roaring by and the sun hadn't set yet, and we had only the open car door blocking us. I've never seen him come so hard. I'm 25 and I've never done anything but you should see my porn collection. Honestly, I disgust myself. I married a beautiful woman and have had sex with her many times. My family was even at the ceremony, but I can't imagine they actually believe someone that looks like me is railing that piece. This girl rode me so hard she made me shart on her bed. The walk of shame included me taking the soiled sheet to the dumpster. This will be absolutely buried, but in the mid 1980s I took a road trip to Mexico with my brother in an ice cream truck. We met a prostitute at a bar restaurant, went back to her mom's apartment. It was kind of like a hotel, but they were living there, and her really busted looking mother gave me a blowjob on a couch in the stairwell while my brother had sex with her daughter inside. I found out later that he paid for it because he figured that I would be bored while we waited. He died 20 years ago. Nobody in the family ever knew, and that entire trip is one of my best memories of my time with him. One night I had my cousin come visit on military leave, so I invited my girlfriend and a bunch of friends over for a party. We decided to play Never Have I Ever, the drinking game where someone says something and if you have done that particular thing you have to take a drink. I was about 20 years old at the time and I was living with my parents, who were also playing the game with us. After a lot of alcohol, one of my friends says something crazy like, "Never have I ever gotten a rim job." I looked over at my girlfriend with an expression like I was contemplating doing something dumb at this very awkwardly quiet table. Her expression was basically saying, "Don't you ducking dare." I shrugged and said, "Welp, the game is based on honesty, right?" and chugged my drink. I will never forget the shocked and mortified looks on my parents' faces. Not to mention my girlfriend nearly died of embarrassment. Every friend at the table was crying with tears. P.S. I married this girl, for obvious reasons. We are still together till this day and recently celebrated our 10-year anniversary. I was 23, was ducking a 36-year-old. At 29 I was ducking her daughter, which oddly enough she encouraged me to do. That I'll let my so face duck me often and enjoy it. Also, I'm not exactly a prude, but as the youngest in the family, everyone thinks that I'm fairly innocent. Girlfriend gave me a blowjob while her sister was sitting in the living room watching a movie with us. Had an orgy with a bunch of neighbors on my mom's street. When I was about 18 I basically became just like a babysitter from a cheesy porno. The first couple that started it were swingers. They would come home really drunk and flirt with me. One night they got me drunk and it just escalated from there. After that they started bringing friends over. People from the neighborhood I was also babysitting for. It went on for a few years until one couple got a divorce and I got blamed. Now that I'm older it's really weird seeing them and talking to their kids that are about the same age now that I was then. Jerked off 5 times in a row. Went to it. Jerked off while eating. Met my new boss when she showed up at a little house party. Had the job a week and she had been on vacation. We ended up staying the night because we were too drunk to drive. And I had sex with her and her boyfriend. She ate me out while he ducked her from behind. Best job ever. I got such special treatment and became her assistant. She later professed her undying love for me and told me that she'd leave her boyfriend just to be with me. I dipped out pretty quick after that. I'm a pretty quiet guy who everybody is convinced has no game. Tall, nerdy and nice. However, there was a period of time when fate shined on me and I had 3 regular girls that just wanted it. One would sleep over Friday night. We'd duck. Saturday morning we'd also duck and then she'd leave. New girl shows up Saturday night. Duck her. If she stayed we'd duck Sunday morning. On Sundays I'd go hiking with girl 3. Yep. More ducking. All 3 clean. All 3 on very effective BC. All 3 in the 6-7 range. Balanced that operation for 3 straight weekends. Tried to get all 3 in one day but was only ever able to get 2. Also had weeknights sprinkled in to carry me over. I can't even get DR appointments straight, but I was money during that time. My ex was tiny and we liked to have nice slow sex while cuddling on the couch. We always used a blanket to cover us in case her mom came down since there was no door. Needless to say we had an entire conversation with her mom while my sick was inside her, and her mom still thought she was a virgin the entire time we were dating. There's only 2 people who know what I've done when I was a younger man, and one is my wife and one is my mom. When I was 19, I had just graduated high school. had no girlfriend, and was still living with my parents, I decided to go on AOL and try to hook up with anything. This was 1996. I found a woman who was about 15 miles away and in her late 40s. Her husband was an engineer and gone for many months at a time. Long story short, about 3 weeks later I went over to her house and found an intensely gorgeous redhead, used to be a ballerina. We were banging for months. I eventually met her friends, who were all deprived housewives whose husbands work the way, such as a trucker, engineer, and a salesman for an insurance company. In about 10 months I had multiple three-ways, slept with all of them, and it's done some seriously kinky stuff. What was crazy is that my mom answered the phone one time because she tried calling me and seeing if I could come over. Come to find out, one of the women worked with my mom on a previous job. Nothing stops your heart like walking in and seeing your mother and a note asking you to call Karen, with the words, "How do you know Karen?" Explaining to my mother that I was banging one of her friends at an old job is unique. She just said, yeah. Just having sex with my girlfriend. Her parents don't let us sleep together in the same room when I stay around, but we've been dating for 3 years, so either they're oblivious or they have to know what's going on. I am generally introverted and tend to keep to myself most of the time. So, most people in my life might be surprised to learn that I've both ducked and given received oral in public, movie theater, bus, park, outside of my ex's apartment about 3 feet from a pathway, plain old screwed in front of other people, and was nearly in a four-way with a couple of my roommates back in college. We called it off for what I feel are obvious reasons. This makes me sound like an exhibitionist, but I'm not. Really, I'm just very easily seduced and tend to make horrible decisions as a result. Back in the days I used to live in an Italian city that was the hot spot for high-class shemales. Like real hot ones with big fake tits, lips, you name it. I used to get high on weekend evenings and meet up with them. Usually just for duck and suck, but sometimes drinks and whatnot. Definitely not something I'd tell my mom. Sucked a fart out of an ass. That I love eating pussy. Love it. I'm a married mother of 2 who was bi-curious for the longest time. Finally had a threesome with my husband a while back. And now I understand why he loves eating me out so much. I'm actually jealous that he has a readily available snatch to eat and I don't. So, this isn't exactly something that my friends and family wouldn't believe, because I already told them about it. It's just a hilarious story. It was a few years ago and I was with my girlfriend, now wife, at the beach drinking for most of the day. We didn't head back to her place till around 8 PM and we had about a 30-minute drive back to her apt. We were both feeling a little parched, so decided to stop at a grocery store and grab some Gatorades. For whatever reason, and I was fairly drunk at this point, I was able to convince her to drive around the back of the grocery store to have a six. We get to it and we're struggling with space cause it was a sedan. So I come up with the bright idea to just get out of the car to have a six. I get out wearing nothing but a tank top and a hard-on, and she's got a full dress beach cover up. We continue having sex, and off in the distance, I see headlights coming towards us. Little did we know, there was an access road that ran on the back of the shopping center. "Oh duck babe, get in the car," says I. I pull the passenger handle. Locked. I pull the rear handle. Locked. I run around to the driver's side, but I already knew what had happened. We were out behind a grocery store at 8:30 at night, locked out of our car, and I was naked from the waist down. Thankfully my GF had a dress so she could go into one of the restaurants to call a locksmith. He shows up and I'm ducked behind the car tugging my tank top down, and the guy says, "Oh don't worry man, I've seen weirder it than this." Had sex with a set of twins at way different points in college, from meeting them and then their little sister when I visited that college town again 2 years ago for a wedding. Also I'll never tell him, but I've had sex with one of my childhood friend's older and younger sisters a few times over the years. Masturbated to several stories on this thread. I'm way late to this, but I had one relationship that was very open, sexually. We constantly had sex in public, which is the most thrilling idea of all time. I frequently used a strap-on with him. He was low-key into BDSM, so I'd find ways to hurt him while he was finishing. And we were always finding new things to experiment with. I'm now with a lady. I'm also a lady. and I'm one of the most resigned people when it comes to sex. I have no idea what happened, but there's no way anyone would believe the things I've done. My freshman year of high school I had a threesome with my ex and my GF of the current time. He knew that girl was my ex and my ex knew she was my GF. We snuck off during a football game and I hopped over the fence of the pool deck and opened the gate. We did it behind a wall. Double blowjob from my then girlfriend and her best friend. Later on we all went to a Six Club had there with 2 other couples. And then met some folks on the street and went upstairs to their hotel and had sex with them. My husband and I send our kids to the grandparents every 2 months for a weekend just to get things done around the house. We go to the family lake house, do molly and duck like rabbits all weekend. It's been great for our marriage. I did gay porn in the late 80s. I was a baby-faced twink when I was young. I went to college in Nick and hung out at gay bars because I'm bisexual and wanted to explore that side of myself. I got hit on by an older guy who I would run into at different clubs and usually I would just ignore him. One night a bartender told me that if I was into making some good money fast then Arnie was the guy to talk to. So, it turns out Arnie was a small-time porn producer who also dabbled in coke dealing and any other sleazy activities that could turn a quick buck. So I talked to him and agreed to do a scene for $500. I was thinking I would be working with other young guys like myself. Instead, when I showed up to work I found out I would be doing a kidnap rape flick with a couple of biker dudes. I was too scared to back out and it was the worst experience of my life. I spent a week recovering from being ass-ducked by those two. But did I learn my lesson? Nope. A few months later I got a call from a guy that wanted me to go to California and do a series of surfer dude themed films. I said no a few times but eventually relented. California actually turned out really well. I did some good flicks with really hot guys. One film became really popular and I think it's still around on Pornhub under Vintage. Was getting road dome one night and I was playing with her to the edge of finishing. While driving 80 in the freeway, she straddled me in the driver's seat and rode me for a solid 20-minute drive back home. The most terrifying experience of my life. Threesome in the back of my car except one of the girls only participated in the blowjob portion because she wasn't quite ready for the next step I guess. I also discussed what kind of sexual things I wanted to do with a girl and how we were going to get away from her family. What I didn't know was that her aunt had walked out behind us to smoke. Luckily neither the aunt or the girl cared. Kind of awkward for me though. Had sex on a cruise with a girl that I serenaded after seeing her walk down the corridor. Went to her room. Started having sex. Bam, her roomie comes in drunk as duck with a dude and starts having sex in the bed 1.5 meter. Sorry Murica. From ours. All of a sudden I hear him saying wow you're so wet this is so hot. I just keep plowing my girl thinking. Should I say the same? The guy finishes and I continue for a while longer happy I didn't come first. The guy then feels his chest. He went down on the other girl also and licks his finger thinking it was some sweet female juices. And well they were but not the kind he was hoping for. He turned on the lights. He was drenched in period blood. Like from top to bottom. Red. Dark red. The bed the same and the girl also. He freaks out. Now a bit more sober. And starts yelling and runs out from the room. Still drenched in period blood. The girl starts crying and her friend, the one I ducked, was trying to comfort her. And I'm just sitting there for what felt like an hour but was like 20 seconds before I slowly walk out of the room and see red handprints down the walls. Can never tell my family this as they think I'm as good guy that never sleeps with strangers. TL. DR picked up a girl cut I sang a song. Had sex. 2 people ducked in the bed next to mine. She was on her period. He did a walk of shame drenched in period blood.